So nice to be here. So many souls throbbing at the same time. So dangerously beautiful. First of all, I must tell you about my religion. My wife told me not to share this with anybody, but I will. Photography is not my profession. Photography is my dharma, my religion, because ever since I have picked up a camera and I have been indulging in various lanes and bylanes of daily life, I have learned, I have discovered so many ordinary, simple truths about daily life. And sometimes when the divine comes in, it becomes even more magical. So this is my dharma, and this is my exploration that takes me closer to, not to the God, to the divine. So that's the way photography has trained me. Now, the purpose of photography is very specific for me. The purpose of photography is to capture the time we live in. Today, every fifth, sixth person has a camera and is some kind of a photographer. Well, what is so unkind is the indulgence of endless selfies being bombarded everywhere. You know, only if we learn, thank you, only if we learn to look beyond ourselves, as we all know that time is precious, so is the space we are living in and we are dealing with. Now, why it's precious? Because it's known that journalism is the first draft of history. Well, if journalism is the first draft of history, then photojournalism is the witness to that history. History is written and at times rewritten, but photo history cannot be rewritten. Thank you. And it's here to stay as a timeless evidence of who we were. Photography started 150 years ago. I thought I'll give you some sense of, how this younger art has been moving. Earlier, photography was heavily influenced by the tradition of painting lithographs in terms of portraiture, style, and compositions. So imagine a painting done of Victoria Terminus in Mumbai by a company artist, or maybe by somebody like Hussein or Taib Mehta, 150 years ago, and a picture taken by a photographer then. So if you look at the painting, you'll say, very nice. But the moment you look at the photograph, you say, oh my God, that's the way it used to be. So this is very specific purpose. And that photograph has physically, literally taken you back into 150 years ago, the way we existed then. Those years, the cameras were bulky and slow. And so were the films. So it needed long exposure and lots of hard work. But today, the cameras are so quick that you can take a photograph at a fraction of a second. And you have zoom lenses, and you have a whole lot of things happening for you. And people are capturing multiplicity of moments, taking shape and expression. And digital technology has further transformed and simplified picture taking. The controls and freedom technology gives you are absolutely amazing. But with this changing technology, approach and mindset has also changed. Fast food generation of quick gratifications grab a sandwich, put your camera on autofocus, auto exposure, grab a photo. Well-exposed, good photograph appears before you. The only missing aspect in the photograph is the heartbeat, the power and the heartfelt response to the world we live in. Nature has been installing the biggest computer in our heads, where the storage capacity can be increased beyond limits. So our eyes get connected to this storehouse of sights, sounds, ideas, and images. Like a programmed human machine, we begin to reproduce what we have already stored in our heads. So the first-hand explorations and revelations don't happen. You know, once I was talking to young minds in a school, and barely 10 minutes, and one guy raised a hand, and he was sitting right up front there. So I said, yes. He says, sir, I want to ask you a question. I said, yes. He says, sir, what you are saying sounds very interesting, but I can't figure out what you are trying to do to us. I said, surely I'll tell you what I'm trying to do to you guys. I have been asked to come and uproot you and toss you in the air and freeze you there. You see, a difficult teacher like me does difficult things, you know, because life has also taken its own price from me, and I have paid it lovingly. So the new generation must learn to pay the price with that kind of commitment. So I told him that you'll be frozen there, but when you land, you have two conditions. You cannot step on the steps you have already taken. You cannot also step on the steps other people have taken. And this needs complete awareness of the self and the world, which is not such a difficult thing to achieve. If you ask me, can I meditate? Because this is one of those experiences of meditative moments, you know, where your awareness that the self and the world, you are so connected with it. So if you ask me, can I meditate? No, I cannot. But ever since I have acquired the camera, and camera on my eye, my mind, my body, my spirit, they come into certain alignment. And I can take a penetrated look into the lanes and bylanes of life. As a building is built brick by brick, my life has been growing click by click. And I promise you, I have been in photography for 50 years. And even after 50 long years, I do not have a magical finger that I'll go and click pictures and the magic will happen. Each time, all the time, you have to make yourself available mentally, physically, and spiritually to the situations. Otherwise, life passes by. So the time becomes so precious. And that's how it needs you to behave. Dramatic moments and events give you quick dramatic photographs, but when everydayness of daily life begins to whisper to you, when the mundane and the ordinary begins to nudge you, and when the unseen and the unknown separates itself to merge again, these are the divine moments which give you another level of sensitivity and commitment. And this opens up the blockages and the pores of your body, the goosebumps that you get. And many hidden storms begin to rise. आधी रात को नींद खुल जाती है, 4 baje subah. Because something is, touching you from somewhere. Some energies are capturing you. Man, wake up, wake up. There is so much to relate to. So this is the magic of creativity. The awareness I'm talking about begins with the physical realities, when you concentrate and connect with every inch of space. In these moments of connectedness, you become a part of the whole. And you are not a separate entity anymore. When life begins to throb for itself and makes you miss a heartbeat, a moment that you captured has acquired the power of that heartbeat that you lent to the situation. These experiences are my meditative moments, which are non-negotiable at any given time for me. Khalil Gibran said about children that your children are not your children. They are born out of life's longing for itself. Similarly, minus me. Why minus me? Because when you've been taking pictures for so many years, you acquire a style and an approach that people can say, this is so and so. So it has to be minus you. Minus me, I would like my images to have the power to reflect the glory of life's longing for itself. And I yearn for this kind of purity and fulfillment which comes in rarely. When you begin to see and experience a person or a situation, now, for me, life is a darshan. And darshan is, for me, seeing is darshan. Darshan means when you begin to see, feel, understand situations and people in their entirety. That's a darshan. That you meet somebody and you say, wonderful, he's so completely there. That is the darshan of the person. And now I'd like to share some of my photographs with you very quickly, because the problem here is that TED has very specific time allotted to you, so you can't take liberties. Okay. Now, this is one of my early pictures. And I had a normal camera with normal lens. So I see these birds eating food grains on the roadside. I go there, I focus my camera, I stand there, and I look at the sparrows, and I say, yeah, but not good enough. So I don't know what I'm waiting for. Then the signal goes up there, and the blackbird comes and lands there. And the sparrows, they leave a space. I promise you, I take one picture, and the bird flies off. And for me, this is a kind of a visual poetry that happens in those rare moments when you make yourself available. This is also one of my early pictures, maybe taken 48 years or whatever. Now, again with a normal lens, with a regular camera. In Old Delhi, I'm walking around looking for situations, and I stand at this crossing, and I see traffic crisscrossing, such a chaos, and such an amazing chaos. Like a little boy, I wait and watch and click a few pictures and come back. And my elder brother, Paul, who was a great photographer, when he looked at the picture, he says, Raghu, this is a very good picture. I said, really? Now, the thing is that today I can talk about it after 50 years of whatever experience and understanding. Why? Because when you respond to life, to situations, to relationships instinctively, when your instinct is alive and your intuitive energies are at work, everything will fall into rhythm and magic that life can offer you. My time is finishing. Well, this is Victoria Terminus, and you stand there early in the morning when the local train comes, and you stand there in seconds. The trains come and stop, and the human deluge comes and disappears within seconds, not even a minute. So I stood there with my camera, and I first observed and waited, and the people come down from the trains and disappear like a deluge. I said, oh my God, and not a second to be wasted because everybody is to reach the job, the respective workplaces. So I didn't have a tripod or anything, so I looked around and I saw something, a stand like this. I put my camera on it. I gave long exposure so that the deluge, the feeling of deluge must come through. And some of these people who were sitting on the benches, reading newspaper, they are sharp and clear. So that carries the energy and the experience of that place. This is a day before Ayodhya. Before the Babri Masjid was demolished, there was peace, there was tranquility, there was amazing experience of man and animals in that space early in the morning. Indira Gandhi was a fascinating prime minister, and she said she loved the Himalayas. So when she was going to Simla for the Simla summit with Pakistan's Prime Minister Bhutto, I sent her a note that, Indraji, you say you love the Himalayas. Would be nice if I can photograph you. So she was kind enough to grant me time. I go there, and I start taking pictures in the resort where she was staying. But that resort has 3 feet high parapet wall. And I took some pictures and I stopped. She says, what happened? I said, Indraji, I'm not getting good pictures. So she says, what do you want me to do? I said, can you climb the parapet? Now, the walls in Himalayas are very wide, about this wide. So she says, how? I said, we'll get a chair. So the chair comes, I hold her hand, she goes up. But now you can see the Himalayas and you can see the beautiful clouds, but look at the mudra, the way her hand is. She was so conscious about these things. This is my mother. After 4 days of working with her, way back in 1970, when she was hardly known, she tells me, Raghu, you don't come tomorrow. I said, why not? She says, tomorrow is the Easter day, and I can't possibly want anybody to be walking around and disturbing the space. I said, Mother, you say, two things are very precious. One is seva, the service you do. You look after the poorest of the poor. I have been photographing that. The second is that to rejuvenate yourself, you connect with the Lord. I said, I don't know the Lord. I haven't seen him. But when you sit in prayer, he lands in your eyes. So she says, you come with one condition, you will sit at one place. So I go in next day morning. She makes me sit next to the wall next to her. And she goes into this meditation, and I can't see her face. So I debate, I am upset, I don't know what to do. I get up, I take my pictures, then she gets up to kiss the feet of the Christ. She comes out, and I have done all my pictures. So I go to Mother. I say, Mother, forgive me. I couldn't keep my promise. She says, oh, God has given you this assignment. You must do it well. The Dadu, Satyajit Ray, he was filming Ghore Baire, so there was a break in the sequence. And so I decided to go out. When I turn around, I see these shadows and curtains and the lights and everything. And Dadu was smoking, his pipe. So I said, oh God, he's facing the other side. So as they say in cinema, I said, we used to call him Manikda. I said, Manikda, look back. So he turned and I took this picture. This is love of my life, His Holiness. First time when I met him in Ladakh. And this is one of those pictures which nature gifts you when she finds that you are so much there and searching for his experience. So, finally, I'll say, it said a good photograph is worth 1,000 words. 1,000 words can be a lot of noise. How about some silence? Because for me, the greatest work of art, photography, film, or music is the one that restores silence in you. A meditative experience that restores you to yourself. Thank you very much.